It is Monday, July 15th, 2019, and this is the Pro and the Con Show, and I am your host, Michael James Ott. Welcome to the show. As always, 15 to 20 minutes every day, pretty much. I do say that the next few days are going to be a little bit of a challenge. I'm going back to Northern Illinois. Got a family reunion coming up here, and there's several of us are headed back to where we grew up, and we're going to spend some time together, and that's going to be great. Have to say though that my access sometimes to the internet could be limited, and it might make it difficult. It might make it difficult for me to do this show, either live or to upload it to the Ott in 2020 channel on YouTube. But in any case, I will do my best, but please forgive if there's a day or two or three over the next week-ish that, I struggle to get that done. So the purpose of the show, of course, is to encourage dialogue, to try to get us to be open to opposing views. And to talk about, being better governors of ourselves here. We need to be better citizens. We've got to be more involved. I'm sorry, of the people, by the people, then, and only then for the people. That's it. We got to spend more time. This elect and forget or not even pay attention kind of stuff, well, you get what you get. You're going to get what you get. Okay? So a lot of times I'll look at 5 different websites here. Why? Because it's more convenient than trying to do something with some of the, channels on television or whatever. And I look at some left-leaning ones and central and right-leaning ones. And today I just want to focus on, there was an article on under Huffington Post. And it is the title or the headline is Nancy Pelosi has lost control. Let me read the whole thing here. New York's corrupt machine is running its own show for House Democrats. Okay. So New York State's corrupt machine. And the reason why I want to just talk about this particular thing is corruption. Corruption is a really big problem for us, the average citizen. And the reason is that it's a tenuous hold. This whole experiment in democracy, and it truly is. It's only 200 years old. The guys who sat down there and wrote the Constitution, they were actually there. They were supposed to be redrafting the original Confederation of States, and they ended up chucking it over their shoulders and starting over because it was clear that it was, at least to them, I wasn't there 200 years ago, 250 years ago, but at least to them it was clear that it was too hard to fix that particular document, and was better off just, let's start over. Let's envision what a government would be that is truly, for the people. Okay. The Constitution of the United States, in the very beginning, at the preamble, it says, "We the people perfect the Union." Okay. That's it. And so based on that premise, they came up with the 3 branches of government, and the executive branch and legislation and the judicial, and the balance between them, and so on and so forth. And what we've got is corruption is always a big concern. And one of the most wonderful things that we have is the free press. The fact that people can at least point at things and say, I have detected corruption here. I have detected problems. These people are giving jobs to their friends or their family members, and they're not qualified, and so on. They can at least point the finger. and as long as there's information, eyewitness accounts, information in computer logs and emails and stuff like that back that up, well, then they're allowed to tell that's perfectly okay. And in fact, it's for me greatly encouraged. Now, our current president, can't stand that because, well, he's pretty damn corrupt, and he can't stand the fact that the press is constantly digging into all this stuff, and eventually it's going to come to to the surface that all the stuff that he's been doing over the years. But unfortunately, that's going to take time. But that's how it works. It takes time to step by step investigate some of these things, especially in a system where we want to protect rights too, right? So it slows it down. If we're a dictatorship, then we could quickly, or the military could take over whatever, have a coup. But we don't do that. No, we use information, and we use eyewitness testimony, and we get, gather the truth, and then we see, okay, here's what's going on. Well, so let's go back to this article on the Huffington Post, because basically the author of the article, Zach Carter, is mentioning a few things here, and I just want to read. So now there's this growing divide, I would call it, between aspects or parts of the Democratic Democratic Party. And you have kind of the old guard, which is Pelosi and other people with many decades of office, holding office and so on. And then you have Ocasio-Cortez, who managed to make it to Congress because she was in an overwhelmingly Democratic district. So whoever wins the primary there, they're going because it's just an automatic thing. Everybody in that district votes Democrat, and so the instant that you win the primary, and the hard part for her is she had to win the primary, and I watched a documentary about that, and it was really hard for her to do that because there is this party base. And so let me just read this, just a few paragraphs of this. So please, your attention, please. The divide between Ocasio-Cortez and Pelosi represents just about every split in modern Democratic coalition. Generational, ideological, race, class, strategy, values, all of it. But beneath it all is a simple struggle for power. House Democrats and their agenda are being hijacked by the corrupt machine politics of New York State. From the governor's mansion to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, New York is a political patronage system. Patronage. Okay? This is something that's a bad thing for our government. Patronage. So you wash my hand, I'll wash your hand. This whole thing, you vote for me, you organize your neighbors into voting for me, then I'll give you this job. You'll be the clerk of whatever county, or all this stuff. Patronage. It's a bunch of crap. And, the way that our two-party system works, because of the parties and the puppeteers at the top of these parties, patronage is commonplace, both in the Republican and the Democratic Party. And it just occurs in different parts of the country especially where one party or the other, certain districts or whatever, certain areas, where one party or the other happens to be a lot stronger. So if there's a ton of Democrats in a certain area, then the Democratic Party there tends to be corrupt. And the same thing for the Republican Party. Because this is, this is how the puppeteers are doing, and we can get rid of all that. So let me just finish this very quickly and then hit on the 28th Amendment again, okay, where we're going to get rid of the political parties. So, though often described as a liberal state, New York exhibits all the horrors Democrats, and remember this is in the Huffington Post, so it's generally a liberal-leaning kind of thing. So this guy is coming from a liberal left kind of thing. So New York exhibits all the horrors Democrats typically associate with right-wing rule. Well, what I just said is the parties, it doesn't matter. They can be corrupt. Areas of the country can be very corrupt, and if there's a strong single party that strongly controls a particular area, then corruption is almost automatic there. It has the highest, so New York State has the highest income inequality. Its police officers rape and kill citizens without facing criminal consequences, and the state imposes nakedly racist restrictions on voting. Each of these outrages has its own distinct characteristics, but they all share one thing in common: corruption. And I'm not going to finish reading this. There's a bunch of stuff about the district attorney and, sought leniency for elite offenders and on and on and on. And the Trumps were supposed to be indicted, and that was quashed by Governor Cuomo, and so on and so forth. So here's the next paragraph that I just wanted to read this. So Ocasio-Cortez represents a greater threat to this machine, the corruption machine, the patronage machine, than Donald Trump, which is why Democratic leadership in Congress has been diverting time recently and attention and resources to defend the machine's turf instead of focusing on the president and his vulgarities. Her primary, that is Ocasio-Cortez's defeat of Representative Joe Crowley in the 2018 primary, challenged the system. Okay? And so this year, Ocasio-Cortez endorsed Tiffany Caban in a race for Queens district attorney. On election night, Caban appeared to have narrowly defeated machine-backed candidate Melinda Katz. And after a controversial accounting in which thousands of ballots have now been rejected, Katz now leads Caban by less than 24 votes. Now, I tell you what, they should redo this election, bottom line. But anyway, as long as the political parties exist, as long as we allow them to exist, as long as we don't change the way that we do our elections in this country, this is going to be extremely problematic, and it could easily go worse. And we're not that far. Quite honestly, we're not that far from having a kind of slipping into banana public territory here. It's not that far. It's not that far. Basically we rely on the free press, and if it gets to a point where they are being quashed, or these pseudo information streams continue to gain popularity, where we, the average person, are let's be ignorant. Let's not listen to all the facts. Let's just listen to our little piece of it, so that we like what we hear. Well, if we keep doing that, we're in trouble, folks. We're in real trouble. And the way to fix it is to change our election system. So, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, this is one of the reasons why I bring it up periodically. We need an amendment to the Constitution, and the new system is basically a mashup of kind of jury duty, okay, where we like just randomly find potential candidates, and some online system that might appear somewhat kind of similar to Facebook in that there's information and the ability to view and to secure things, and the whole intent there would be very standardized and fair and equal for all the candidates. And then a vote, or maybe 2 phases of voting, okay, to arrive at the final people that would end up in office. So you randomly select a bunch of people that potentially they have the age and whatnot to do this. You don't give a damn what political parties or what jobs they've had. You just, here you go, just like jury duty. Okay, here's a pool, and then that pool of people puts information on this standardized, secure place that we can go look at, and we can see that information. And based on the information, based on what they're sharing with us, standardized information, we can say, okay, here's, they would bubble up. We vote for people that, I think this guy would be a good senator or a good representative or whatever. And then, the cream kind of rises to the top, and then we, so there's a certain number that go into the election. Maybe there's a preliminary election, and we vote on that preliminary one. Again, all secure, online. No one can vote twice because we're using, biological things. But, and because we're using electronic systems and stuff, we can verify, location, geography. We can have a two, what's that called? It's a 2-layer, it's not right, but anyway, 2-layer security. So there's 2 independent systems that are checking all this stuff to make sure that everything is lining up and it's all on the up and up. And then we have these representatives in whatever offices that we have, and they only serve 1 term. And the previous people that are in the office, they are required to have like a turnover log, and they spend like the last 6 months, carefully summarizing what they're doing and why, and they turn that over. And the new people come in to office and they have 1 off, so no big money, no. How many of you out there hate the attack ads? Okay. How many of you? How many of you out there think that you should have to raise $1 billion to try to be president of the United States? How many people out there think that that's a good idea, that someone would want to go through all that to serve us? What kind of strange, messed up person would want to go through that to serve us? Well, it's someone that's already kind of corrupted in their minds. Okay, at least to me, that's what it feels like. And I've seen this for years and years and years. If you look at, presidents and representatives and senators, some of these people are some of the worst people you could possibly have. And yet they are striving to be in these positions because they're chasing wealth, influence, and power through this role in government, which is exactly the opposite of what you and I need. So, and then one last thing, I'm going to read this oath of office. So if you're a government employee, whether you were elected or hired or appointed, you pledge, you take this oath every single year. I acknowledge and embrace my duties to serve the people. I shall serve and protect the people of the United States in totality against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to the best of my abilities. From this day forward, I shall not accept gifts, future employment, or other forms of compensation from any source that could be perceived to influence my service to the people. When or where there is a conflict in interest, I will publicly declare my conflicts that are known to me and serve the people above my own interests or the interests of coalitions, groups, political parties, or industry. I acknowledge and embrace that this service to the citizens of this country is a solemn and noble commitment. My failure to serve the people with integrity, fairness, and compassion can be grounds for Congress or the Department of Justice representing the people to charge me with treason. The penalties for treason being harsh, including the penalty of death if so ordered by a jury of my peers. We can fix this, folks. We can fix this. As sure as your heaven knows, as sure as there's air on this planet to breathe, we can fix this. But to fix it, we're going to have to get involved. We're going to have to change the way that we do things. Can we? Sure. Will we? That's the question. Will you serve yourselves? All right, we're running long, so this is the Pro and Con Show. I'm Michael James Ott. Until the next show, which will be tomorrow, bye for now.